It's official. AI has infiltrated everywhere. But the one place you wouldn't expect AI to invade is one built on expectations of creativity, authenticity, and emotional connection with the audience. That's right, I'm talking about influencers. I know, but influencer marketing has become an industry worth $2.1 billion. No wonder companies want a bigger slice of that pie. But why stop there when they can be the one who bake it? If they can somehow keep influencer marketing in-house while removing those pesky human elements like unforeseen scandals, difficult personalities, fair payment, and contractual rights, then of course that would be great news for everyone. And by everyone, we're of course talking about the companies who want to advertise their products for the least amount of money possible. And with the arrival of Aitana, the most real-looking AI influencer yet, that possibility seems closer than ever before. The benefit of using AI influencers for the brands who want them and the digital media companies that make them are huge. And with enthusiasm for regular influencers in the absolute gutter, internet consensus seems to be good riddance to old trash. There's a lot of money to be made too. A H&M ad campaign featuring Cookie, an always-on AI influencer created by digital media company Iconic, resulted in 11 times the increase in ad recall, basically meaning that people can remember seeing an ad by a particular brand over ads with a normal campaign video. This means they found a 91% cost decrease per person recalling seeing the ad. In an attention economy where eyeballs on content means something, and that something is profit. Now, profit is all well and good, but I think people are overlooking the truly sinister implications coming in allowing AI influencers to infiltrate society. Let me explain. Before we get into that though, what are AI influencers and what has led to the dreary night of November which has spawned their existence? Yes, I'm quoting Frankenstein, sue me. Christopher Travers, writer and enthusiast of the virtual influencer space, describes AI influencers as fictional social media personalities created with computer graphics software and then given a personality defined by a first-person view of the world and made accessible on media platforms for the sake of influence. Nowadays, they can be made incredibly easily with generative AI, a type of machine learning which takes existing data, like various photos in the case of DALL-E, or internet info for ChatGPT, and generates something new based on the prompt you give the program. If that is too hard to understand, and for me that probably is, then just see it as sci-fi magic, because that's pretty much what it is. So what's the problem with using fictional influencers powered by sci-fi magic? Well, the trouble comes when these fictional influencers appear a lot less fictional than the word fictional would suggest. Advertising and marketing have always utilized fictional characters to sell products. From Hello Kitty to Ronald McDonald, avatars, mascots, brand icons, and otherwise inanimate spokespersons have been used to promote and advertise for more than 100 years. But there was almost never the pretense that these entities were real creatures or people, genuinely extolling the greatness of Frosty's Flakes or the lovability of a Haribo. There is one early exception. 1932, a New York-based artist, Lester Gabber, built a 100-pound plaster model called Cynthia. No, I can't do that accent, I'm sorry. Cynthia, a strangely lifelike mannequin, gained celebrity status in the US. Cynthia posed for the cover of Life magazine, the irony being palpable, I know, and was invited to various gatherings, events, weddings, and galas. Not only that, companies started to send her things like jewelry and clothing, and she was used as an ambassador for luxury brands like Tiffany and Cartier. To make the story seem even more believable, Gabber excused Cynthia's silence for being the result of a terrible and chronic case of laryngitis. At the height of Cynthia's fame, she had all the trappings of a human socialite. A credit card, a newspaper column, a box seat at the Metropolitan Opera House, a radio show, and even an appearance in the movie Artists and Models Abroad in 1938. When she died, she fell off a chair and smashed into smithereens, which I can imagine is quite fatal. The press reported the terrible loss as if her death was genuine. Looking back, Cynthia might be one of the first realistic inanimate influencers, and the lifelike narrative that surrounds her and her interactions blazed a trail for other inanimate influencers to go down in the far future. But why are we as a society so accepting of influencers being created entirely through AI technology? Well, it's because we've been primed for it with VTubers, believe it or not. Advancements in available streaming, motion capture, and animation technology means that by the mid-2010s, the term virtual influencer meant a real person who used a virtual avatar to interact with their audience, particularly VTubers. Though VTubers may be anonymous or playing a persona, they are nevertheless real people providing real entertainment, whether that is streaming a game or just chatting to their audience, and their audience have at least the ostensible expectation their interaction will be authentic, that there is someone behind the virtual avatar. As the technology developed, digital marketing companies kept on trying to make the perfect influencer that combined the controllability of a brand avatar with the emotional appeal and believability of a human influencer with a life beyond the screen. How have their efforts fared? Well, let's look at some of the biggest AI influencers and see. Lou DiMaggio made her first appearance in 2009 for magazine Luiza, one of the biggest retail companies in Brazil. Lou has gained 14 million Facebook followers, 7 million followers on Instagram, along with huge followings on YouTube, X, and TikTok, though her fame is largely concentrated in Brazil, where she originates. She is less a full-blown influencer than a brand icon, or at most a spokesperson, since she lacks a realistic personality, and her Instagram captions are exclusively used to promote a product rather than the influencer narrative of posting about their lifestyle as a type of entertainment. Michaela Souza, aka Little Michaela, is a lot more well-known. Created in 2016 by Brud, a software media company based in LA, Michaela is a Brazilian-American virtual robot model that has worked with high-end brands like Prada, Calvin Klein, and BMW. 2.6 million Instagram followers, 1.1 million followers on Facebook. A self-proclaimed robot with obviously CGI-looking features tones down the human aspect for the most part, but Michaela seems to appear in the physical realm, takes casual lifestyle shots with friends, and talks like a typical Western teenager. She also has some very real political views, with hashtag Black Lives Matter in her Instagram bio, and her having advocated in the past for LGBTQIA+ support and reminding people to vote in the US election. As you might be thinking, a completely brand constructed entity pretending to have authentic political or social opinions is a worrying amount of acceleration to our already breakneck roller coaster of a society. But more on that later. Though all of them have a lifelike semblance to them, and their interactions with the outside world, particularly in their Instagram captions, do sound more or less believable, all of their looks are somewhere dotted around the deep jungle of uncanny valley, making their believability, well, less that, and even a little unsettling, or a lot unsettling. And that's with the most advanced AI influencers in still images. The more amateur ones, or the ones using video, well, they certainly look like they've been edited by a robot, so let's just say their believability has even more ways to go. However, the latest mainstream AI influencer is their most believable yet. Spanish fitness influencer Aitana has 281,000 Instagram followers as of recording since her creation in July 2023. Her feed is full of selfies, daily life pics of her going traveling, attending weddings, and in the middle of her workouts, all of them being, of course, constant and consistent thirst traps, all the while tagging brands like Olaplex and Victoria's Secret. At face value, she is indistinguishable from other Insta fitness models, but she's fake. She is an AI created by Spanish digital design company The Clueless. Unlike Cookie, Aitana's personality is more humanistic, and she looks very convincing as a real human, unlike Michaela. In fact, if we don't look at her TikTok, which is atrociously robotic, Aitana can be seen as a digital influencer directly competing with her human counterparts. Are there any issues with a fictional AI influencer looking like it would be able to pass the Turing test with flying colours? Oh yeah. But first, let's look at why AI influencers are so attractive, no pun intended. Like I said, brands that would like cheaper advertising and the companies that make the AI influencers are the first ones to benefit from this new technology. According to The Clueless, Aitana was created to bypass the high prices and potentially difficult personalities that comes with working with influencers. Ruben Cruz, designer and founder of The Clueless, told Euronews, "We started analysing how we were working and realised that many projects were being put on hold or cancelled due to problems beyond our control. Often it was the fault of the influencer or model and not due to design issues. They created the AI influencer so that they could make a better living and not be dependent on other people who have egos, who have manias, or just want to make make a lot of money posing. Oof, there is obviously a lot of hidden tea that's been spilt on the Barcelona influencer studio floor. But honestly, can you blame him? It's not just in Barcelona. Influencers as a profession have an insanely poor rep, and not without reason. Obnoxious, entitled, difficult to work with, and self-obsessed. No, I'm not talking about a poorly domesticated cat or normal domesticated cat. I'm talking about the typical influencer. And if that wasn't enough, they often dive into controversies like it's their morning lap around their pool before their grapefruit and vegan oatmeal, and somehow consistently fumble basic industry standards for advertising, e.g. disclosing that it is an ad in the first place. In fact, at first glance, it seems that the only group of people who will not benefit from AI influencing are influencers themselves, as they are edged out of the advertising market. This Reddit comment that I came across when I was researching was so good, I had to add it to my analysis. For context, the question being asked was wondering if 2024 will be the end of influencers, and this comment by Cosmic Clanny sums up the speculative future of influencers as clear as glass. They say, I think they'll always be around, but people in general will care less. I'm already seeing a trend of people preferring to follow and engage solely with friends and micro-influencers that are already closer to their real life, as in people who live in their area and can suggest actual things they can do where they live and at budgets that work for them. Nobody cares about someone in LA's $500 Nobu order anymore, but if they can learn about what's happening in like Salem, Massachusetts this weekend, and which cafe has a gingerbread latte, they're going to be far more engaged. Or people who have similar jobs or hobbies. People know a nursing influencer with only 18k followers might be better at suggesting what shoes to wear than an influencer trying to get you to wear a brand that's paying them. A crafting influencer with 20k followers can give better advice about dressmaking than someone with millions showing off their Prada dress. They want workout advice that's realistic from someone with 15k followers and a similar body type to them, so that it's actually applicable, not someone who spends 3 hours at the gym and still photoshops themselves. These micro-influencers have far higher engagement now, and they're not too good to respond in the comments, so it also feels less one-dimensional and hopelessly parasocial. Think about OK Callie. Her initial appeal was her law school content because it gave people insight into what law school might be like and the path to become a lawyer. Now that she's a regular influencer, nobody cares that she's eating Taco Bell in a bikini. People want relatable and applicable stuff these days. Capitalism has exhausted us, and I think most people want what's attainable, not aspirational. They don't want to see people flexing LA mansions and cars. They want to know tips on how to live their best life. People are more or less spending the same amount of hours on social media as pre-pandemic, but with a lot more scrutiny. Influencers are exhausting, and they know it, which is where all the desperation is coming from. The smart ones have already cashed out and left. If you do see them, it's from promo and life updates, not the $23 smoothie they're drinking. A lot of companies are also paying out a lot less. The Kardashians and the other god tier 40 million plus followers will still make a lot, but 2 million is no longer impressive to most companies, so they're not going to fork over 40k a post anymore. They can also buy embedded Instagram ads themselves. It was much harder to do that before, which is why the influencers were valuable. Now that even a local business can buy an instant ad for like $600 a day, nobody's going to want to pay a rando thousands just so it can get seen. So not only will influencers be less adored, they're going to make a lot less. So they're going to put even less work into their content. Then it will collapse. Whew. Thank you again, Cosmic Clanny, for your insight. Very appreciated. Overall, when you look at the state of the influencer industry as a whole, not great exceptions that do not behave in the typical influencer fashion, change to AI influencing doesn't seem that much of a loss. But under the innocent exterior of struggling but plucky digital media companies pulling themselves up by the bootstraps to create a solution to their obnoxious influencer problem, we can already see how AI influencers and the people who make them, as they are now, champion profit at the cost of ethical marketing and the mental health of their potentially very impressionable consumers. Perfect shape with flawless skin and with completely symmetrical faces. In other words, they are all at the very top of our beauty standards. This places huge expectations on impressionable children and teenagers that are being led to believe that this is the standard you're expected to achieve before you can appear online or even in the outside world. An online petition has been created addressed to the CEO of TikTok, not that it will do much good going to him, I'm just going to be honest, announcing their concern that AI influencers who often show off AI perfected faces and bodies in their content may contribute to unrealistic beauty standards and body dysmorphia for children and teenagers. Some of these AI influencers do not announce that they are AI, and if they do it covertly, like calling themselves virtual influencers or burying the hashtag AI influencer under all their other hashtags. Typical influencers are basically AI already. They Photoshop their image to an inch of its life and then claim that they're all natural. How is this any different? I mean, it's not that different, and that's the point. We already have a big problem with these types of influencers portraying a completely unobtainable body standard and then assert that it's real. If we have a problem with real people asserting unattainable body standards while claiming that it's real, then we should have a problem with non-real people asserting unobtainable body standards while obscuring the fact that they are AI. They are doing it on purpose and with the intention to push these unrealistic body standards for profit. They are also clearly exploiting men's attention. Again, we already have a cultural issue of men going on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitch to look at completely unavailable models, resulting in them raising their expectations of real women and hindering their ability to properly socialize in order to be able to communicate with a woman in a healthy or appropriate way. Just because they are AI influencers doesn't mean consuming their content is at all better. And before anyone argues that people's expectations won't be changed by AI because they know it's not real, I think that's complete codswallop. Just because they know it's not real doesn't mean that their expectations won't be raised. Appearances matter. You experience the world through your senses, and for a large part, if you're not blind, through your vision. Even if you're fully sure that something is not real, if you see it, you still can subconsciously believe it. It's like Sam Sulek. Just because he's built like a biblically accurate Goliath and you know his bloodstream is at least 3/4 trembolone, people are still going to claim he's all natural. And even if they think he's not, they will do anything to recreate his physique, despite the harm that comes with it. I don't believe you should be limited to your own race when creating a piece of artwork. But when you are trying your best to make your AI influencers seem somewhat or completely realistic, especially in the captions they use, it's shady at best and sinister at worst to use them as a convenient puppet to express certain viewpoints or appeal to a certain type of consumer. I'm not just talking about race or cultural background. The Digitals made the first ever model with Down syndrome. They might say that this is giving representation to people with Down syndrome, but I think that excuse is bunkum. While they're using the image and likeness of people with this condition for their own profit, the people with this condition are not profiting. At the same time, they are replacing opportunities for actual models with Down syndrome to be seen by people. This will obviously cost more than pixels on a screen, but if brands actually cared about representation rather than using representation as a means for profit, then it would be a price they would be willing to pay. AI is not going anywhere. And right now, the technology is as bad as it will get. The technology is getting better and better, and soon AI will be able to be as lifelike in video as it is in photos. And if digital media companies are already so fixed on making profit without any ethical rein, even when the technology is still not perfect, then I can imagine it will get a whole lot worse. With a large amount of job losses in the tech sector, Apple buying up more AI startups than either Google or Meta, and AI art becoming a bigger and bigger legal and ethical conundrum, there is a strange feeling that the AI influencer hype is just the human canary in the AI coal mine.